We can sleep under the stars, we can sleep under the stars, under the stars.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of 2 Cents Plus, and today we are going to talk about the latest episode of My Hero Academia, the battle between Bakugo and Deku. I've been waiting for something like this to happen for a while now. Unlike a lot of other people, I'm not one of those people that has been reading the manga, so I did not anticipate something like this happening, at least not this soon. But I am very glad it did. I'm really pumped about what took place in this episode, and I want to talk about some of the implications behind it. Now, if you've read the manga already, I'm sure you're going to be like, silly pleb, I knew this already, and I already know what's going to happen next. You should read the manga so you can be like me. Go away, because I don't want to I don't want to deal with you today. No, but on a more serious note, I do like these things not to be spoiled for me. I like to see the show as it comes out, and I don't like to get information about what's going to happen beforehand because it ruins the excitement for me. I know some people can watch the manga and still get excited, especially when it comes to like action scenes and stuff, but they just don't do anything for me in text and photo form. Like, I gotta see the real deal. So with that in mind, let's move forward and talk about this fight. First of all, it was fucking awesome. Now, it was short, and some people will say that it overall, probably compared to a lot of other things, it wasn't all that visually impressive compared to insert your favorite anime fight scene here. But just like any of the other fight scenes in this show, it's a lot more about the impact of the fight rather than the fight itself. There was a lot of heavy criticism about the All Might fight and his final fight when he lost his powers, and a lot of people was like, it really wasn't that impressive. But it wasn't the kind of, the visuals that really drew me into that fight. It was the weight behind it, what it represented, and why it was taking place. And this is no different. This show tackles these different situations in much more nuanced and really deep ways that make you think about what it is you're looking at and why it matters. And I appreciate that. So when it comes to this fight between Deku and Bakugo, this has been something that has been boiling up since that moment, since that fight with All Might and One for All, or All for One. He has been plagued with this feeling of inferiority towards Deku, but not only that, the feeling of believing that it was his fault that All Might lost his powers. And he couldn't understand, like, why? Why is it that this person who has been following behind me this whole time, this inferior person who I am so much better than, why was he acknowledged by the hero that I failed? You know what I mean? Why was he acknowledged by the person who I've looked up to my whole life? And I am the one. Not only am the one who didn't pass the test, not only am I the one who wasn't acknowledged by All Might, but I am also the one who was responsible for him losing his powers. How? How can that be me? I'm better than him in every conceivable way. How on earth could that be me? And when you have an ego that strong and you have the type of emotional issues that Bakugo has, which is, he has this anger thing and he has this problem with expressing his emotions and trying to figure out exactly what's going on with himself because he's a hothead. His power is literally explosions. Like, I mean, what did you expect? But with that kind of weighing on him, you got to see an emotional side of a Bakugo that you never got to see before, or at least I've never seen this side of him before. He was genuinely hurt and hurting by this information and what was going on. And the reason that the aftermath of this fight is so important, why it's so key, is because both of these people, both of these shadows that All Might has cast, have an opportunity now to become better than they ever could have if things would have remained the way that they were before. Like, their rivalry before was nowhere near where it should have been in order to help them grow. And as opposed to there being another separate symbol of hope, which is what, a lot of people would assume that Deku was supposed to be, the show seems to be building a foundation of a group of symbols of hope. Like, it's no longer going to fall on the shoulders of one person to be the symbol of hope for heroes or just the world that they live in general. We're trying to cultivate an entire generation of that. You know what I mean? Because however you feel about All Might being a symbol of peace and hope and being the single pillar that held together society, and it's just the way that it functioned and everything, the moral thread that's holding this really flimsy society together, it's not okay for it to be that way. And yes, he maintained it for a really long time, but inevitably he was going to be defeated at some point. Inevitably he was going to have to retire at some point. Inevitably something was going to have to give. And when that something gave, what was going to be left? And that's something that has really been bugging me. Not in a negative way about the show, but it's been a concern of mine where it's like, okay, All Might is the singular pillar of hope. What happens when there's no more All Might? So I think it's interesting they're taking this road to where they're trying to change the concept of a singular symbol of peace and turning this new generation of heroes into a generation of peace. You know what I mean? Where they, as opposed to everybody looking up to this one singular hero as that's the person we look up to make sure the world is safe, make everybody that hero. Make all the heroes that come out, like, you can all be that symbol of peace. You can all uphold that mantle so it doesn't fall on one person's shoulder. So if one person falls, there's another person there to pick that person up immediately. And that is much more stable. It makes much more sense to go that way than to have one singular symbol of hope to do that. And I think that's where All For One is really kind of misinterpreting the situation. Like, he's very cocky right now, even though he's locked up, and he thinks that he's got this set in stone because he believes that they're trying to carry on this legacy of a singular pillar of peace. But I don't think he really understands the fact that that's not quite what's happening. Now, I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong. I haven't read into the manga. I don't know what's going to happen from this point on. But Deku and Bakugo are going to become significantly stronger now. Now that they have somebody who they can directly compete with, like that matches their power level in a very positive way, with the specific aim to make each other better, as opposed to tearing each other down or surpassing the other person. For the sake of surpassing them, they're both cultivating each other. And I think that works better towards the goal of creating multiple pillars of peace as opposed to just one, because they don't all have to be the same. They don't all have to believe the same things. They don't all have to think the same. They all just have to be heroes, and true heroes. Whether or not what you think that is up for debate. We could have that discussion. But a group is better than one, for sure. Now, I know I've kind of already given all kinds of spoilers in this episode, especially if you haven't been keeping up with what's been going on and everything. But I'm going to issue an actual true spoiler warning this time, just in case you've missed this latest episode. I'm going to be talking about the results of the fight and what I think, or why I think it went this way, and why I think it's very interesting that they decided to go this way, which is a bit unconventional based on the things that I have been seeing. But here's your spoiler warning now. If you don't want to know what happened, you want to see for yourself, go watch the episode. It's out now, and come right back and we'll continue on. But that was your spoiler warning. Okay, you seen it? Good? Alright, good. So, in the end, after this battle was all said and done, something unusual happened. The victor was Bakugo. Now, the reason that I think this is very important is because Bakugo has been restricting himself for a very long time now under the false notion that the person who he is looking down on, who he thinks is insignificant, has been looking down on him. But he has already determined in his mind that Deku is better than him as far as power, strength, and the ability to be a hero goes. His inferiority has tricked him into believing that Deku has somehow surpassed him as far as that concept goes. And he found out that he was wrong. Deku is not better than him. And he hasn't been since this show has began. Bakugo has always been leagues above Deku as far as pure strength and being a hero goes. And I mean as far as just pure ability. You know what I mean? And that is why Deku has been following him this whole time. He had a point when he said that, you know, this person who's always been behind me has somehow surpassed me. He's still back there. He has not surpassed you. He is still following you to this day because he looks up to you almost as much as he looks up to All Might. And you have lost sight of that because of your own insecurities and what's been going on. And Deku has also reconfirmed the fact that he needs to work harder in order to be a hero, and the fact that he looks up to Bakugo is even more validated, because even despite the negative feelings and everything that Bakugo was having or whatever, he still proved that, yes, I am indeed still better than you. And I think he needed to realize that, like, yes, you feel inferior, but these are the limitations that you have put on yourself based on your own insecurities. And I think he needed that in order to be able to move forward beyond what was going on now. Because I believe that now he realizes that just because Deku was acknowledged by All Might, that does not mean that he is better than I am. That does not mean that he is stronger than I am. And that does not mean that I am incorrect in my path towards being a hero. You know what I mean? It takes away this kind of hero worship thing that he had going on that was restricting him, to be honest. Like, he asked Deku, like, was my admiration wrong? Was the way that I was idolizing All Might incorrect? And in some ways, people could argue that, yes, it was. It was pretty toxic because he only looked at the power aspect. You know, he didn't look at exactly what All Might represents and why he does what he does. He thought, I have pure strength, I'm strong, I should be acknowledged for that simple fact. And he learned that there's a bit more to it than that. And in learning that about himself, learning what his actual abilities are and how he stacks up against Deku, and also learning what the motivations of his hero was and why he made those decisions, he was able to look objectively at this situation and say, I'm not a failure. I'm still awesome. But so is he. And he can be. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not. You know what I mean? That doesn't necessarily mean that I am any less because, you know, somebody who I idolized acknowledged him. Because, in a way, All Might not passing on the powers to Bakugo was an acknowledgement in itself. If you really think about it. He had already recognized Bakugo's strength and he knew that he was going to grow. But when he looked at Deku, he saw this latent kind of, this person who had the potential to be a hero. Bakugo already had the strength to be a hero. But Deku had the potential. He just did not possess the power. So All Might provided him with it. And I think it's so interesting because, like I said, I haven't really seen anything play out this way. Maybe there's some similarities to like other shows, but I'm very fascinated the way that they took this, and I'm excited to see how these guys are going to develop from this point on. So I went on probably a little longer than I had planned on going on talking about this topic, but hopefully you guys were interested and you share some of my views. If not, let me know what you think or how you took this fight and what happened in it down in the comment section below. Let's have a conversation. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one.